what kind of emails should people be sending? Where should they start? Like all the things, Michelle, just all the things.
All the things.
Yeah,
absolutely. Like when it comes to email marketing, if you're starting out on your email marketing journey, the most important email that you are ever going to send is your welcome email.
Today we're diving into the nitty-gritty of words that sell. We've got Michelle Ryan from Ryan Virtual in the hot seat, ready to talk to us about all things copywriting and content writing. Now, I used to think all writing was the same. And, you know, it's like good grammar and pulling things together and all that sort of stuff. But then I tried to sell my first online course, and let's just say it was more than a flop. Okay. And that's the truth of it. It turns out that there's a real art to crafting the words that actually get people to take action. I learned about this in year one of my business, and I'm so glad I did. It made such a difference to me. And it was one of the reasons why I went on to become a StoryBrand certified guide. In today's episode, Michelle's about to blow your mind with her expertise. So go grab a pen, get ready to take notes. This episode is jam-packed with loads of goodness you won't want to miss. First off, Michelle, what is copywriting?
So copywriting it's essentially writing words, basically. In its simplest form, it's writing words, but with the purpose of selling, basically. So selling your product, selling your service. So there is a difference between copywriting and content writing. So like I say, copywriting has the purpose of selling and marketing your business, your products and services. And content writing then is more of a kind of engaging, educational kind of style of writing. So that could be like blogs or social media captions. But with copywriting in particular, that can be your website copy, sales pages, your email marketing. There's a lot within that. And yeah, it's really down to kind of the purpose of, well, what does this piece of writing do? And with copywriting, we're aiming to inform people and to kind of entice them to sign up and work with us.
I love that. That's such a great description. Yeah, I think people are probably not aware that there is a difference. And, you know, for copywriting, and you kind of called out where people might need it. So website, sales pages, things to get people to sign up and that sort of stuff. And where do you see, Michelle, that people make mistakes with this? Like, what are the common mistakes that people make with copywriting?
I think it's around the storytelling piece. There's often a lack of storytelling in places, because I think when people are writing, particularly with copywriting, like I said, the aim is to sell. So they go straight into sales and straight into listing benefits. This is what you should do. This is why you should work with me. Here's what you'll get, which is all fantastic. And obviously there is a place for that. People need to know what they're signing up for, what they're buying. But there can be like a lack of storytelling and kind of bringing the customer on this journey of, you know, understanding what it is that they're signing up for, or they're buying into, like, and not just the kind of initial physical benefits, but the, you know, the overall kind of emotional well-being benefits as well that they can see, taking them on that journey through that story of, you know, this is where this idea has come from, this is why we've created this is how we want you to feel, and, you know, also this is what you'll get, these are the benefits here as well. But there's more of a story around that. Sometimes I find that can often be missing when it comes to copywriting.
That makes sense. And let's say when people are writing copy, so like a lot of the people listening are coaches, they're consultants, they might be accountants and what have you. They're not marketers. They're not copywriters, though I know they're going to be excellent at it after listening to today's episode. But, you know, when they're writing, what kind of language then, aside from the storytelling thing that they're doing, like what kind of language do they need to incorporate so they don't get it wrong and become content writers as opposed to copywriters?
Sure. I think it's really important to always keep your customer in mind, the end customer. Make sure that they're front and center of your mind when you're going to write your copy, and think, okay, well, maybe it's, if you're a coach, maybe it's the first time this person has come across a coach and they're trying to figure out, okay, well, what exactly does it mean? They don't necessarily know the industry jargon and the words that you use on a regular basis to describe what you do or how you do it. So keeping them in mind, your customer, is really, really important. And trying to understand, okay, well, what is the type of language that will bring them in, that will capture their attention? What are the kinds of words that they like to hear? And again, like, how do you capture their attention? How do you draw them in? That's through the language that you're using. It's it's a lot of, like, it's not just what you say, it's how you say it. So if you are maybe being too direct or too to the point, or even too fluffy or vague, that might turn people off. And if you are an accountant, a lot of your work is very, it's specific, it follows a process. These are the things that we need to do. So when you're going to sign up with an accountant to work with one, you want to know, okay, well, this person knows what they're talking about. You want to be confident of that when you're reading their website or the email that they've sent through. So, make sure that when you're writing that copy for that person to read, that you are confident in what you're saying, that yes, you're not overloading them with confusing statements or things like that, but you're explaining things as clear as you can and in a way that will, be received well. That, again, you're not too kind of like, you need to do this or you need to do that, to the point. But always keeping that end customer in mind is really the most important thing, and how they would like to be spoken to and receive your message.
And what happens when this is done well? Like, if people take the time to really think this through, and like, a lot of people, they can't afford to pay for copywriters, they can't afford to pay for web designers, they can't afford to get help. But if they take the time to do this right, what kind of outcome might they expect?
And it is such an important thing to take the time with. Like, you're so right. And yeah, like you say, not everybody can afford to outsource to a copywriter. But the importance of taking the time and not just writing down something once and putting it up and that's it, just get it over with. The importance of taking your time means that you're being intentional with it. And you, by keeping, like I said before, by keeping your customer in mind and having that intention with what you're saying and the words that you're using, it will connect you with the right people. That you are making sure that the exact people that you want to hear your message will hear it. They will pay attention because, well, it's clear that you have put the time and the thought into this, and okay, like, if I'm reading that email that the accountant has sent through to me, I think, okay, but they work with business owners like me. They are speaking the language that I listen to. That makes sense. I'm going to sign up with them. Rather than trying to speak to everybody, you might get people or clients through that aren't your ideal clients, that might waste your time, that might never sign up with you, and you end up speaking to a whole crowd and nobody's listening. Whereas when you put that time and attention into what you're saying, thinking of the person, the ideal client that you have in mind, the message will get through to them. So you're speaking to a room full of people that are actually listening at the end of the day. So taking the time to do that, that's why it's so important to connect with the right type of clients for you.
And then the outcome, I guess, is when you do that, people who are really listening, is they're more inclined to buy or purchase whatever you're offering, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because they see, okay, well, they get it. They know what I'm trying to do here. They're the right person to help me because I know they understand what I'm going through and who I am. So they're going to be the right person for me. So yes, I'm going to invest because, if you're thinking of that, like, okay, I'm thinking of investing in a coach, well, I want to make sure that they're going to be the right investment, because we're all like that. We're all working hard to make our money. So any investments that we make, we want to make sure they're the right ones for us. And by doing that, taking your time with your copy and your messaging, the person on the other end will feel more at ease and more certain, I guess, about their investment in you, and be more inclined to buy and to sign up and boost your sales in that way.
Fantastic. We all want that. As you say, we work freaking hard already. Yeah, for sure. Okay. And so in terms of emails, Michelle, because like they say email, I had Dr. JJ Peterson on recently, and he spoke about email and the conversion rate of email and how that is still the best way to market your business in terms of return on investment. And it's not like an email where you'd be like, hey, Deirdre, how's it going? Right? There needs to be a little bit more to it than that. And on the show before, I had an episode that I shared about lead generators and then, sales funnels and what they are. And so if people don't know how to get people onto their email list, we're not going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about what you put into your email. So go out and check those other episodes. I'll link the show note, the episodes in the show notes. But for the purpose of today, Michelle, I want to assume that we have an email list. And that means a list with a few people on it. It can be 2 people on it because we've all got to start somewhere, right? But you could have 20,000 people on it either. So in terms of starting an email for those people, like what kind of emails should people be sending? Where should they start? Like all the things, Michelle, just all the things.
All of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like when it comes to email marketing, if you're starting out on your email marketing journey, the most important email that you are ever going to send is your welcome email. And this is the very first email that goes out if somebody signs up to your mailing list. And it's an email that I feel like a lot of people just kind of skim over, or maybe don't even bother putting one together. But it's a quick and easy email to put together. It doesn't have to be you don't have to write a big essay or a book or anything about it, but you're writing that welcome email once and automating it to send out whenever anybody subscribes to your mailing list. And it's so important because this welcome email it's always one of the highest open rates of any email that you're going to send.
I'm feeling like, oh my God, my welcome emails are probably crap. I'm like, I can't wait to learn what you're going to share, Michelle. Come on, tell us, get to the nitty gritty.
So with the welcome email, the main thing, like what you need to be sharing in that is, what can your reader expect? Like can they expect to receive from you? Whether you're sending weekly emails or monthly emails from now on, whatever your cadence is, let them know what they can expect. And it depends as well on your business type. If you are selling products or a course or something, or webinars, whatever it might be, if you want to offer an exclusive discount code, a welcome code to entice people in, or depending on, I suppose, the layout or the kind of the type of emails that you're going to be sending later on, letting people know that in that first welcome email, whether you're going to tell them, each week I'm going to show you behind the scenes of what it's like to build a 6-figure business, or I will be sharing exclusive industry insights into, the world of marketing or the world of coach, whatever it is, or, each week you can expect to learn more about, a topic. If you just want your emails to be a bit more educational, more informative, it's really about drawing people in at that point, letting them know what they can expect, and also letting them know a little bit about who you are. They've signed up, so they're aware of who you are, but giving them just a little bit of, extra flavor, personality, if they can expect, Like for me, like Beyonce is my favorite singer. So you might, get the odd reference or quote throughout my emails every now and then, so like expect your 90s music nostalgia references or whatever it is, you add in a bit of personality into it, because that's the best thing I find about email marketing is you can really, really share your personality in here and not be afraid to hold.
So in relation to showing your personality in the email, like what does that look like, or how might somebody do that?
That is, it's all around. It could be, sharing some sort of personal information. It could be sharing, your interests, your likes, your certain turn of phrases as well. Like there might be some words that, that you'll say, or certain ways that you'll describe what you do, or certain things, or, maybe you use swear language, or maybe you use, different, like you say sugar or something instead, like certain ways of saying things. Like that is how you can inject your personality, and just really, I suppose it's about kind of warming up as well what you're saying, and not being so like technical or formal about things. It's really kind of coming down to a personal level. Like think about how you speak to your friends and your family. I think that's always a good tip when it comes to adding your personality to things, whether that's your emails or any other kind of copy. It's think about how you speak normally, because how we write and how we speak are completely different. So the best way to show your personality is by doing that, by thinking about, okay, well, how would I explain this to my best friend or to my sister, and what are the kind of words that I would use? And that's where your personality really comes into play as well.
I love that. I love that. And I completely agree. And I say the same thing as well when people are showing up and talking. It's like, kind of imagine you were having a cup of coffee with a friend. How would you explain it to them? Because you're so right. And people overcomplicate things. And sometimes I think unintentionally do it to try to sound smart. And actually, it ends up making them a little bit unapproachable, or like they have a superiority complex and things like that. And really, just meeting people where they're at is so much better, in my view. And okay, Michelle, so the welcome email is the most important email of all. I love that. I hadn't thought of it that way. So thank you for that. And in terms of then getting started and going about the emails and how often people should send them and the time of day that people should send them, what are your, can share all those things as well, please?
Of course. So in terms of the kind of content that you should be sharing, we'll start there first. And it's really important to understand before you start your email marketing, well, what is the purpose of this? Because you can use email marketing to sell, you can use it to create community, and to, just to kind of create engagement and build connections that way. So there are different ways that you can use your email marketing. So figuring out what your purpose is really important. Sitting down and thinking, okay, well, what do I want people to do with this email? Do I want to include a link to my course so that they can sign up, or a webinar, or my product, whatever it is, so they can purchase? Or do I want them to reply and to let me know what they think about a certain topic that I'm talking about, and build a community from there? That's really, really important in terms of content. So figuring that out is the first step. The second step then in putting together your content, it's really like thinking about, okay, well, I know what I want to do. I want to sell this thing. So how do I bring people on the journey to get them to that point where they want to buy or they want to work with me? Because you don't just want to go straight in for the kill either, like straight away, because people want to get to know you. That's where we're bringing in that element of personality as well, because people buy from people at the end of the day. If we are, have bought into your story and we are invested in you as well, we're more inclined to work with you. We know you're a good person. We know you like the same things that we do. So bringing people on that journey as well and telling those stories is really key in email marketing. So rather than just saying, hi Deirdre, wanted to let you know about this webinar I'm doing next week. It's €50. Here's how you can sign up. Like, I'll be like, okay, right, whatever, delete. I'm not going to pay too much attention to that. But if you say to me, oh, hi, Deirdre, this happened to me during the week, or can you believe this story? This is something that happened to a client of mine. Like, telling a story about your services and about how you've helped, or about how a similar service has helped you, is going to bring people on that journey. So, you can include your call to action in there, let people know how they can sign up, how they can purchase, but give them a reason to read and to get to know you and to get involved. So if they don't click that sign up button on the first email, they'll be interested enough to read the next email that comes in, or the next one, and sign up through there. So it can be a little bit of a long game sometimes, but it is well worth it, because you are, again, building those connections and building trust and authority within your emails, which is so important to do.
That is so important to do. Yes. Keep going. All the things, Michelle. I'm loving this.
So that's the content. And when it comes to the, how often should you send your email, or what times? I know those are always questions people ask. And honestly, in terms of, the cadence of your emails, like how often you're sending them out, is really, to me, it comes down to personal preference. And it's the best advice I can give is figure out how, like, realistically, how consistent can you keep this? Because if you are telling people in your welcome email, you're saying, you can expect to hear from me weekly, or you can expect to hear from us monthly, or every fortnight, whatever it is, you need to make sure that you're going to keep up with that, because you've told them something. Again, we want to build trust here. So if you're saying, I'm going to email you monthly, and they get an email, in May, and then the next one comes through in July, or the next one is like 2 weeks later, they're like, to be all over the place. And maybe they don't remember what you said in your welcome email, but if you stay consistent with it, they'll remember that, oh, that email is going to come through from Deirdre this week, or, they'll expect that it's on the way and will be ready for it. They will be more likely to read it. They know it's coming through. And it's really down to, well, how can you stay consistent with that? Like, what can you do? Is there a time every week that you can set aside to write your email? Maybe you plan ahead. Maybe you write out 3 or 4 emails, and you use that. If you want to send an email weekly, maybe you set aside a half a day once a week to write your 4 emails and schedule them so that they're ready to go. Or maybe you just want to do one monthly, like whatever it is. I don't think there is a right or wrong answer to how often you send an email. The main thing is remembering to stay consistent with it. And in terms of the timings that you send the emails, it really does vary depending on your industry. And I think there's a lot of room to play around and experiment with this, especially at the start, because I have clients who one of them will send an email at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday morning, and that will get great engagement. We'll get like 50-60% plus open rates, and it's always consistent because we're sending it the first Tuesday of every month at 9 a.m. and it gets, people are expecting it. But I have another client who will send an email on a Thursday evening at 7 o'clock in the evening, and that gets great open rates as well. But again, we've experimented, we've sent emails in the morning, they haven't been opened as much, so we tried the evening and found that worked. It's really about, again, thinking about your audience and who your readers are, like what are they doing? And also, like, what kind of information are you sharing as well? Like, is this information that will help them with their workday? If there are other business owners that you're connecting with, are you sending them tips and industry information that will help them throughout the day? So maybe you send it in the morning. Or, if you're a coach and you're sharing more kind of personal information, or, kind of tips about things that people can do in their own lifestyle, like outside of work, maybe that's something you send through in the evening, where when they've disconnected from work and they're more in a space of looking after themselves and want to learn more about their well-being. So it really is, again, the timing comes down to figuring out who your audience are and thinking about what their habits are in relation to the information that you're sharing as well. So when will your information be relevant to them? And don't be afraid to experiment and try things out. Try and send it in a morning time one week and an evening time the next week and see what happens, because that's the best way we're going to learn. Each industry is different and each audience is different, so it is well worth trying it out. But the main tip is to be as consistent as you can.
I love that. And be as consistent as you can is so hard, folks, like really hard. I really struggled with this. And for a while, I was sending an email a month. And then I was like, oh, okay, it's going to be my goal. I'm going to ramp up the number of emails I send. And then, like, I've had a lot of unsubscribes as well. Like 50% of the people who've subscribed to me have unsubscribed to me. And I'm like, I used to probably sit at home and I won't say cry over it, but like take it as rejection or what have you. But I think it's down to what you said with that first email, Michelle, in terms of not calling out what people can expect. I think that's it. And, you know, I think the other thing too is last year when I started this podcast in 2023, we decided, my podcast manager and I decided, right, okay, every week the podcast comes out on a Tuesday. We're going to share an email with the people on the email list. And that's a way to nurture them, because people like you, Michelle, show up on this podcast and you give incredibly insightful nuggets of information and you share your stories so that people can go away and take action. So for me, that in my mind is a fantastic way for me to build community and engagement with the people on my email list. But I kind of thought, oh, well, you know, I never send anything else. And how can I go about doing that? And I didn't really know where to start or what to do in terms of selling things or how to introduce selling things. And I suppose if somebody is a bit like me, maybe they have a newsletter and it's just news or information and things that they have. You know, where do you suggest they start if they, you know, they have a course now and they want to sell that? Like, they have a blank email in front of them. Do they just say, right, I'm going to send an email now and send that? Or is it, like you said, you warm them up in another way about and tell the story? I'm kind of like, for people listening who might be feeling, what do I do? What do they do?
Of course. I think it's a great thing to do is to kind of sit down and again figure out, okay, well, what is the purpose here? So, right, you have a course now that you want to sell, that you're launching. You're getting ready to launch this course in, you know, next month. Like, you have a course ready to go over the next 4 weeks. You want to warm people up and get them to sign up to your course. You have an email list already. It hasn't been active for a while. What do you do? So you sit down and you think again about that audience and you think about, okay, well, what are they doing at this time? Like, how can my course help them? Kind of work back a little bit from that and think of a way, you know, how do you re-engage people? Just send them an email, let them know, like, be honest if you want, and be like, hey, it's been a while since I've been in your inbox, but you know, I really want to connect again and I really want to get in touch. I've been working on something really important that I think is going to be a huge help. And let them know about what you've been doing, you know, the work that you've been doing in the background, how life sometimes gets in the way. Again, it's a great way to be honest and to share more of a story. Email gives you so much space to do that. It's not the same as social media captions or your website copy or anything else. So you can have that personal connection with your email list. Be honest with them. Don't be afraid to say, you know, I know I haven't, it's been like ghost town here for a few months, but I'm back. And let them know what's been going on. You know, the reason I've been quiet is because I have been working really hard in the background. I've been listening to my clients. I've been, you know, doing this and that. Like, if you've done a course yourself, or, you know, if you've been at networking events, excuse me, if you've been at networking events, or you have been speaking on a podcast, or you've been like thing that you have done over the past few months since you sent your last email, that can be a great way to come back again and to share with people and say, look, I know it's been quiet, but I've been busy. I've been doing this thing, and this thing, and this thing. And I've also been working on something really valuable that I think is going to be a huge help. That can be your way back in again. So you're not just going straight in for the kill. You are starting to warm people and begin to bring them again on this journey and something great that they're going to want, that you'll be letting them know, each remind them of that again, and for them to keep an eye on their inbox, that something exciting is coming their way.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I think, one of the things when I initially started sending emails, aside from the ones when people signed up for things, if it was people subscribing to my email list, I was working with a company to help me get started on that, like way back when in 2021, when I started out. And they had a structure that, I kind of started with my email. So it was a newsletter I was sending. And I kind of felt, frick, I don't have a whole lot of news to be sending. And I think that was probably one of the reasons why I stopped. But I wasn't telling stories back then. I wasn't aware of the impact that stories could have way back then. And so for people who are planning to send a regular email, like, it doesn't just have to be news, is I suppose the point that I'm trying to make. But also what I'd love to know, and this is what I do for my podcast email, for example, rightly or wrongly, is I do have a sort of a structure for it. So like I say, hey, then in the email, it's like who's on the show and what topics they covered. And then it's like, you can read the show notes here, you can watch it, or you can listen and then sign off. But there's nothing else, there's nothing else in it. The goal is to make people aware and get them to take action by listening to it, because all the value is right here in our conversation, right? So is that right thing to do? Is that the wrong thing to do? Like, if people are, answer that before I go off and ask you another 5 questions in one.
I think that is definitely the right thing to do. If you can, I think a structure like that it's going to be really helpful. And especially, as you're saying, that is an email that you send out every week. So if you have a structure in place, that's helping you to be consistent. So really, it is a matter of figuring out, well, what will help you, because you constricting and it might not work for them. So it depends on the way that you work. I do think a structure, if you have a specific type of email, like that email for your podcast each week has an exact purpose, and that purpose stays the same every single week. We want people to click on the link to open the podcast, listen to it, get all the valuable information. So that stays the same, and that is consistent every week. So to have a structure is fantastic, because it's going to help you stay on top of that and keep on track. If you don't want to have a structure, that's also fine as well, if you want to play around with things a bit more. But if you do have a set purpose and know you're going to be saying the same kinds of things each month or each week, putting a structure in place is fantastic. And it can be just as simple as, your initial greeting, a story from during the week or from during the month, and a link then into what you want them to do, followed by the call to action, specific call to action. So how you're kind of turning that story into a valuable piece of information that they might want to know, that they can learn more about if they click the button below to sign up to your course or to book a discovery call with you. So that can be that's a very simple structure as well that you can have in place, and play around then with whatever the content is that goes into that structure.
Great. Great. That's good. Because I'm like, phew, the people getting these podcast emails, that's okay. So yeah, that's good to know. And Michelle, I suppose in terms of do's and don'ts, right? If you were to say, right, here's 3, don't ever do this in an email. You're going to like screw yourself over if you do this in an email. What would those don'ts be?
That's a very good question. That is a very good question. The don'ts. I think, like, don't just go, I think I've said this previously, but don't just go straight in for the sale straight away. You need to warm people up. You need to create that connection and create that sense of, I get it, I understand. don't be so rigid and formal and professional in there, because email is a place to have fun. People are expecting stories, they're expecting, little bits of information. It's like, throw in emojis, throw in like funny memes or whatever it is that you want. Have fun with it. So don't be so formal and rigid in what you're saying. And yeah, don't set yourself up for failure, because you don't need to with email. You don't need to send an email every single week if you can't keep up with that. So you don't need to put pressure on yourself, because again, email is a place to have fun, to create connection and community. So if you only have space to send one email a month to get started, that's perfect. You might find as you do that you want to send more, that you're having fun with it, and you have the space to send more. Fantastic. You can, up that to twice a month or every week, whatever it is. But just don't start off with such pressure and expectations on yourself that you need to be sending an email every single week or twice a week when you don't. As long as you are able to keep up with the consistency that suits you and that makes sense, then that's the best place to get started.
Yeah, I love that. And folks, if you're on my email list, you'll know I send memes and emojis all of the time. But you're so right, Michelle. It took me so long to not be formal and not have that corporate voice and polish. It took me a couple of years, to be really honest. It did. And okay, those are 3 really great don'ts. Now, the opposite. 3 must-dos for email to really make them effective.
The first thing is to really provide value. Like, do give your readers a reason to read, because we all get so many emails every day. There are certain ones that I know myself, if I see it come in, I just hit delete. Why I don't go in and unsubscribe, that's a whole other, I don't know what that's about. But that's a totally other podcast episode. But I will just hit delete because I don't want to read it. I know that, okay, it's going to be too long, or they're just trying to sell me something, so I'm not going to read it. But if you are from the start providing value, giving people a reason to read, they're more likely to, when they see your name come through, to open it. Do, again, have fun, and especially have fun with the subject lines of your emails. Now this will probably prompt a few more questions, but the subject line of your email is important, and a great way to bring people in to, like, put something shocking there, or put something unexpected in the headline, so they, you're more likely to open it. Add a personalization in there, add someone's name into the subject line. That's always going to catch people's attention. So again, like, have fun with that, with the subject line as well. So do put a little bit of thought into that, and add personalization, add something controversial or shocking or funny that will catch people's attention. And a final do, so value your subject line, and do ask people questions. Open your email up for replies, which is something that I think a lot of people sometimes forget about. You see an email as, okay, we're providing value and information, and an option for them to work with us. Ask questions in there too. Ask people to reply, especially if you're giving them value, or you're giving them a tip of, this is how you can, increase your engagement on LinkedIn, for example, and give them an action item for the week. At the end of it, your call to action can be, reply to let me know how you got on, or reply to let me know if you have any questions, or if you'd like to see more of this. It's a great way to really connect with your audience and find out, well, what's working for them, what are they interested in, or is there any place else that you could be providing value? Like, they're right there, they're directly there in your inbox. It's the best way to connect with your community. So don't be afraid to ask some questions. Open it up and ask people to reply, and create conversations that way as well.
Whoa, those were three really impactful do's and don'ts there, Michelle. Thank you so much for sharing those. And there's something else then. Yes, that definitely will brought up loads of questions, but I'm conscious of time. And so there is one thing I do want to ask you about, and that is unsubscribe. So I kind of mentioned it a little bit. I've had a lot of unsubscribes, and I've changed trajectory in my business. But I mean, if people are starting out with building an email list and they're getting unsubscribes, what might that mean, or what can they do to prevent that? Like, what are your thoughts on unsubscribes?
Yeah. First of all, I would say to try not to take it personally. And I say try because I'm the worst in the world for taking that kind of stuff personally. So I get it. I understand. It's not nice to see numbers coming down. But at the end of the day, quality always wins over quantity. So if you are seeing unsubscribes, well, that is okay. Let them unsubscribe. They are not the type of people who you would want to work with. They're not interested in what you are saying because maybe they're not the right clients for you. That's fine. But there is a lot of valuable information in there to look at. Okay, well, when did somebody unsubscribe? Or was there an email I sent where we got like 5 unsubscribes after this one email? Well, what was in that? Why did people subscribe that day? Like, are people subscribing the same day that an email is going out? Or are they subscribing, a couple of weeks later? Maybe they're just doing what I never do and they're going through their email list and unsubscribing later on. There is valuable information to be found there. I think reviewing the reasons why, again, after a particular email, review that email and see, okay, well, did I try something different there? Because like I said earlier, don't be afraid to experiment here with your emails. You can try to change things up a bit. And that's absolutely perfect. If you do get unsubscribes from that, then see, okay, well, what did I do differently here that maybe people didn't like? And you can learn a lot from that. Take that information and decide, okay, well, do I actually want to keep going down that road because this is the new direction for my business? And that means some people aren't aligned with me anymore. Well, that's fine as long as you are happy with that direction. Keep going that way. Or if you think, okay, well, it was something I tried, but it didn't work out and I don't actually want to keep going down that road, that's fine. Switch it back. It's all, a learning curve here. So looking into those analytics, that data of when we get unsubscribes or what our open rate is like, if it's lower one week or 1 month compared to the next. Okay, what times was I sending this out at? What information was included? Why would somebody be prompted to unsubscribe? Take a look at that. And it's no harm if people are unsubscribing. At the end of the day, the aim here with your emails is to build a community of people who are interested and who are aligned with your services, what you're doing. And that's fine if there are some people that aren't. We can't please everybody. So it's all good.
Fantastic. I love that. And yeah, it is so hard not to take it personally. I swear, I think I probably cried the first couple of times. Like, really, I was like, so upset they don't like me. But I think one thing with marketing and growing your business is you learn to take rejection on the chin. And I totally agree with what you said about experimentation. Marketing in general is one giant experiment, and you've got to litmus test things and you've got to do all those sciencey things and just figure out what works. And something eventually you'll figure out what works for you, I think. Michelle, this has been so insightful, like incredibly insightful. I've got a page full of notes and I'm going to recap all of those in a minute. But before I let you go, tell us, is there anything else that you haven't shared that you think listeners really need to know, or have you got it all in?
I think we have, I think we've covered the main things people need to know. At the end of the day, it's what works best for you and your business. I think try your best to block out the noise, because what works for one person and their business might not work for you. So consider your own circumstances, what success looks like to you, and keep all of that in mind, who your clients are, your ideal clients are. Keep all of that in mind and have fun with it. Try your best. If it doesn't work out, try something else. Just have fun and enjoy it.
I love that. Yes, marketing and emails can be fun and you can enjoy them. Make that the goal. That's what success looks like. I definitely think so. Okay, Michelle, what's coming up for you in your business, or anything for listeners to check out that you have going on? Let us know.
Thank you. Yes, so you can find me at Ryan Virtual on Instagram. I am working on a number of website copy projects at the moment, which is really exciting. So you can check out how all of that process is going on my Instagram. And I'm working on I'm actually bringing the fun back into my business. I'm working on a fun quiz that I hope to launch to help people to find out about their brand tone of voice. So that will be coming up over the summer, which I'm really excited to share with the world.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Exciting stuff. Michelle, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here with us in the Master Your Business podcast. And the best of luck with all of those exciting projects you've got going on. Thank you again.
Thanks, Deirdre. Thank you.
Massive thanks to Michelle for demystifying the world of copywriting. It's so true what they say. There's a reason why copywriters are the most highly paid marketers in the world. It's because the words you use matter so much more than you think. They can make or break all of your marketing efforts. So get out there now, folks. Start crafting copy that's going to convert. But before you go and get flat out on your keyboard, do me a favor, hit that rate and review button. Your support helps me and my podcast team to reach even more business owners who want to master their business. Oh, and don't be shy. Please feel free to share this episode with your fellow entrepreneurs. You know, the ones who are always looking for ways to level up their marketing, those ones. Sharing is caring, and it helps us to grow an amazing community. So thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.